Well, it is another Friday the 13th. It's very rare we get two of them back to back like this. I don't think this happens again for a very long time. And it's very appropriate that what we got in the closing segment tonight happened on Friday the 13th. Actually, this entire show happening on this day is kind of appropriate given that it is Friday the 13th. This was a very scary episode of SmackDown, and one where if you are of the belief that by Road Dogg no longer being a part of the SmackDown creative team, that was in some way going to improve the overall quality of SmackDown, I got bad news for you. We should have had Wade Barrett stand up from the announce desk. I'm afraid I've got some bad news. I told you not to expect that, but now you know. You know, Drew McIntyre quit on tonight's show. He has since unquit, but he quit on SmackDown tonight. I'm thinking about quitting myself after sitting through 3 hours of this. Or I should say 2 hours and 45 minutes of this. Because the only redeeming part of tonight's show was, in fact, the final 15 minutes of the show. You don't have to watch anything else that happened on SmackDown tonight outside of the contract signing that they closed with. This was as just nothing happening, boring, bad television as WWE has put on all year. I don't know how we are actually getting closer to WrestleMania, and somehow these shows seem to be getting progressively worse. I don't understand how that works. I don't know what to say at this point. I don't know what to say at this point. Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, they had a contract signing for WrestleMania because we know what the main event, presumably of night one, is going to be for the WWE Championship. And Cody and Randy are like this, right? They're bosom buddies. Even though Randy Orton dropped him with an RKO in the Elimination Chamber to win the Chamber and punch his ticket to WrestleMania. These two have known each other for a very long time. These two, a lot of people have been waiting to see this match. And not just a match. I mean, we had them in the King of the Ring finals previously, but an actual story behind the match. One that taps into the history between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. As Cody Rhodes said on the show tonight, the very first match he had in WWE in 2007, the year I started the podcast, by the way. Okay, that's how far back this goes. His very first match was against Randy Orton. And then we know all the stuff with Legacy and everything that came after that, right? So there's a lot of his history there to dive into. We got a small little piece of it in the contract signing. They were being awfully nice to each other. They were being awfully chummy, which should have been a sign that something was about to go down. Cody Rhodes signed the contract. Randy Orton had some trouble doing so. He was expecting Drew McIntyre to be in this spot. And Cody told him, look, when the bell rings, I want you to bring your best. I want the best Randy Orton. I want the Viper. I want Mr. RKO Randy Orton at WrestleMania. And Randy signed the contract. And at that point, Randy Orton, it's like as soon as he put pen to paper and put his signature on the contract, a switch got flipped. All the way back to 2009, Randy Orton. And he attacked Cody Rhodes. He kicked him in the dick. It's like John Cena a year ago, all over again. Only this time we got a violent, bloody angle to close out the show. He bloodied up Cody Rhodes. You know, we don't get to see this on WWE television very often. So when they actually do it, and you have Cody in this case do a blade job, and he did a hell of a blade job because, I mean, there was blood all over the place. On the announce desk, on the floor, Randy had Cody's blood all over him at the end. It is more effective given that we don't get to see this very often here on WWE. It was a violent attack, right? Leaving no doubt that this was a Randy Orton heel turn, except nobody clued in the fans in Phoenix to this because for the most part, and I don't want to make it sound like there were no boos at all whatsoever, when the angle was going on and he was beating him up on the outside, there were boos, but by and large, especially at the end, they were cheering Randy Orton for nearly killing Cody Rhodes at the end of this show. They went off the air tonight with the fans chanting Randy as Cody Rhodes laid there in a pool of his own blood being tended to by officials. And when it was over, I was very conflicted On the one hand, I was very happy that we got something on this show. This was a bad show. If you want to talk about drumming up interest and excitement in your biggest event of the year, okay, you can't be putting out standard SmackDowns. I understand that not every week the television show could be a home run. It's 3 hours of television that they have to write. Not every week is going to be a grand slam. That's not what I'm saying. We are in a period right now where we are 5 weeks away from what is supposedly their biggest show of the year. And I mean, I watched this show and literally 2 hours into the show when I realized we still had another hour left, not even 2 hours, when we were an hour, 90 minutes into this show. And I'm like, this is horrendous. This is horrendous. You would never know that WrestleMania was right around the corner. I would say that it was a one-match show, but it wasn't even a match. It was a contract signing. That's all this show was. So I was happy to get some kind of big angle at the end here, right? So that was nice, because if we didn't get that, we wouldn't have had nothing tonight, okay? So that's number one. Number two, I like that they went the bloody violent route. I thought that was effective. But I'm also watching this and going, man, they should have, if they were going to do this, why not save it until WrestleMania? I understand you got 5 more weeks and you got to try to make things interesting. And there are ways that you could have done that where, again, they dig a little bit into their history and you build the tension slowly over these next 5 weeks between these two men and get people thinking that, wait a minute, something's going to go down at WrestleMania, right? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen at WrestleMania. Because I take you back 1 year. I'm watching the fans here tonight chanting for Randy Orton, right? When this show was over. And it took me back to a year ago when we went through this same thing with John Cena and Cody Rhodes. As great as the initial angle was at Elimination Chamber, turning John Cena heel, the heel turn did not work. And even when he was trying his hardest last year, right, he was healing on the fans, and all you fans have treated me so badly for 25 years, right? It was fucking terrible because John Cena has been beloved for so many years, and it just felt so forced. And it just didn't work. And you had people who knew that this was the last time they were going to be able to see John Cena. They did not want to boo that man. So it didn't work. It did not work. And here we are again. And my fear is that they haven't learned the lessons of the past. And they couldn't wait until WrestleMania. They just, we got to have a heel turn. As soon as the contract gets signed, somebody's got to go heel. And they turned Randy tonight. So now we have 5 weeks of heel Randy Orton going into WrestleMania. And it's like, man, they should have waited until Mania to do it. Which, of course, in hindsight, I look at the John Cena thing and I feel the exact same way. I don't think that WrestleMania main event last year would have been as bad if they would have saved the actual turn for Mania. And I think it would have been more impactful. But that, again, that's hindsight and that's, 2020 vision there. So I do wonder if they made a mistake by sort of jumping the gun and doing this tonight instead of saving it for WrestleMania. I know people are going to look at this and go, they turned the wrong person. They should have turned Cody Rhodes. And I've been talking about this recently. Like, again, there's nobody that they have on that roster right now who is prepared to be in that position. They have not gotten anybody ready to be in the Cody Rhodes spot if they wanted to turn Cody Rhodes or WrestleMania. I don't see who that person is. Okay, so that's the main reason why I don't see them turning Cody Rhodes heel. I understand that people are going to be very disappointed in that. They want to see Cody go heel. They're sick and tired of babyface Cody, corporate Cody. It's not going to happen. It certainly doesn't seem like it's going to happen after what they did tonight. So you got to put that away for now. I'm just more like looking at this, wondering if the Randy turn came too early. And they felt like, oh, we got to do something to really, heat things up. Let's just do it now. Now we wait for the explanation, because why would Randy Orton do what he did to Cody Rhodes now, right? Is it going to end up being a situation where we're going to get the Randy Orton promo next week where he talks about how you've been back in the company now for 3 years or however many, 4 years. You've been WWE champion, because we've seen Randy Orton, and I wouldn't be shocked if they put little clips of this in the eventual video package just to illustrate the point, because I pointed this out numerous times. All of the different times that Randy Orton was spotted, right, eyeballing the championship. And Cody would be sitting next to him, right? And he'd be looking at the belt like it was on his mind. And at no point did Cody offer to give him a championship match. It's almost like the Mega Powers angle, where if you remember when Hogan and Savage had their split, one of the things that Savage said to Hogan is that, man to man, you never came at me asking for a title shot, right? Instead, Hogan was busy, groping his wife and doing all this other stuff. But that was one of the things that really upset him, is that you never asked me for a title shot. Are we going to get a similar story here, where Orton is like, you and I have been tight. I've had your back, even at my own expense. Because remember, Randy has taken beatdowns for Cody in the past, right? From the Samoans. And is it going to be one of those cases where, you never even thought to come to me and say, hey, do you want a shot at this, right? Maybe they could explore that as a possibility. I'm curious to see next week, unless they do one of these things where Randy's like, I don't know anybody, an explanation. But what is the explanation, the rationale for him doing what he did tonight? It wasn't like Cody dropped him at the Elimination Chamber. He dropped Cody. If anybody should be upset, it should be Cody upset at Randy. And instead, Randy drops him at the Elimination Chamber to become the #1 contender. And then he nearly destroys this man tonight. Why now? Right? We need to get that explanation for Randy Orton. Why was it so important for him to do that now? Or did he just lose his mind? Maybe the voices got to him. What was that condition that he had back in 2009? IED, or I think it was IED, right? In intermittent explosive disorder, right? I think that's what they called it. Maybe his IED flared up. I don't know, but the timing of the heel turn is what I question right now. As an angle, though, I thought it was effective. Let me say this. It was effective in terms of the violence. Was it effective in terms of what WWE was going for? I don't know. Just because they were cheering for Randy Orton when they went off the air. But I just feel like now we're going to be in a situation like we were with John Cena a year ago. I don't understand why it had to happen now. Now, maybe 5 weeks from now, they'll convince me that this was the right move. But I feel like this is something that should have been saved for WrestleMania. And you would have had people going into Mania wondering who's going to turn heel. Could it be Cody? Could it be Randy? Well, now you've already given the answer away. Unless they do a double turn, and I don't see them doing a double turn. You've already given the answer away. Now you've taken some of the drama away. When I think it would have been cool to kind of preserve that and keep people guessing for the next few weeks. But that was really, honestly, the only thing worth a damn on this show. I mentioned Drew McIntyre, him quitting. He was very upset about being screwed out of the champion, or in his mind, being screwed out of the championship. He quit, and then, of course, he came back before the show was over to attack Jacob Fatu, which sets up not a WrestleMania match. It sets up a SmackDown match for next Friday. And we'll get into that. We also had more MFTs and Wyatt 6 nonsense lantern stuff here on. I watched this show, and tonight was one of those nights. It is physically painful. It is. I get pains, like stomach pains sometimes, when I watch these shows. I don't know, like we had a few weeks ago where they got the lantern back, right? Made you think that maybe we finally reached the climax here. Uncle Howdy got the win over Solo Sikoa. Just for Tonga to steal the lantern back. This must continue. So then we have a tag team match tonight. And again, the Wyatt 6, they win. The babyfaces have now won twice now. Twice. Now, usually in an extended feud like this, you're building to the babyfaces to get the win, right? They've won twice. And they got the lantern back. But then Tonga steals the lantern back. They're going to drag this shit out until WrestleMania. Because, of course, they have nothing else for either one of these factions to be doing other than to continue to feud with each other. And they'll build to some kind of match at WrestleMania, and the lantern will be returned to the Wyatt family. In the meantime, we have 5 more weeks of this shit. It is awful television. Just brutal. Brutal. The Bella Twins were back. They're getting a tag team championship match next week. And at WrestleMania, I'm sure. But yes, they were back tonight. They're getting their match. And Jelly Roll was on the show. because we got to have our obligatory celebrity appearance at WrestleMania. So now Jelly Roll is back, and clearly they're building to something, a match for him at WrestleMania. I'll say this, Jelly Roll is a better promo than most wrestlers. He's pretty good at that. He's pretty good at that. Do I need to see Jelly Roll and The Miz wrestling at WrestleMania? No, I do not. But it looks like that's where we're headed. After the angle that they shot here on this show tonight, I do want to show you a sign. This is a sign that was in the crowd on their own show tonight. This was caught on television. Triple H has no fresh ideas. I didn't say it, but that man, right? Well, actually, I can't see who's holding the sign. I can't see if that's a guy or a girl, but whoever's holding that sign up. Triple H has no fresh ideas. That's exactly what I felt after watching the MFTs and Wyatt 6 stuff. I can't say that I disagree with that sentiment. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I knew when SmackDown went back to 3 hours that this show was going to be brutal. I didn't know it was going to be this bad. I really, I try to find the good in these shows where I can. And normally this time of year is very exciting and we're getting ready for the big show. It's like the Super Bowl is around the corner. And I feel like, honestly, we're building to like fucking bragging rights. I mean, we're building to like Clash at the Castle or something. Like, what are we doing here? This is fucking horrendous. This is your Friday the 13th SmackDown review. Like and subscribe. Super chats are open. Appreciate all the support. Boy, do I need some support after watching some of these shows. I'll be reading your messages as we go along here. There is some wrestling coming up this weekend, in case you were wondering. Texas Death is coming for MJF, and I'm going to be live for the AEW Revolution review. That will be on Sunday night. It's going to be a very late night on Sunday. But if you thought the ending of SmackDown tonight was violent and bloody, oh boy, you just wait. You just wait. You're going to get that in the first probably 30 seconds of this match. And I saw that Tony Khan actually just tweeted that Revolution, if it hasn't already, Revolution, he claims, is expected to sell out. Well, should specify, sell out of their allotment of tickets. They're at the Crypto.com arena. I'm pretty sure that's like a 20,000 seat building. They ain't getting 20,000 people in that building, but if they get 11,000, that's a healthy crowd. So good for them. Anyway, that'll be on Sunday night. Let's spin the wheel. Find out how many likes we need for Be the Booker tonight. Let's take her for a spin. $465 is the magic number for tonight. That is how many likes we need. That's the likes minimum for tonight. 465 likes. So you guys know what to do. We didn't get there on Wednesday. See if we can get there tonight. But boy, oh man, this show was a struggle, let me tell you. And I know I'm not the only one who feels that way because you were commiserating with each other in the live chat. I was dropping in and I could feel your pain. It's just so lifeless. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. Drew McIntyre. Let's start from the beginning here. Drew McIntyre was not happy about what happened last week. We got a lot to talk about here in this review. Drew McIntyre lost his WWE Championship to Cody Rhodes. So he came out of the crowd to kick things off, and he was calling on Nick Aldis to come on out and make things right. Said that instead of protecting your golden boy, Cody Rhodes, come on out here and fix this. So Aldis walked out, got into the ring, and he said, there's nothing to make right. Said that you headbutted a referee last week. These are the consequences of your own actions. And Drew said, yeah, aside from Jacob getting involved, You and me, we had a deal. Cody didn't win the Royal Rumble. Cody didn't win the Elimination Chamber. Therefore, Cody should not be getting a shot at the WWE Championship. He called Aldis a corporate stooge. And Aldis called it rich that McIntyre comes out and complains about getting screwed when he screwed Cody out of the championship multiple times. So listen up. Drew did everything he could to prevent Cody from getting a fair shot, and now he understands why. Because the first time you did, he beat you. So Aldis was in the ring saying this. McIntyre was standing on top of the announce desk. And at that point, Drew jumped down. He got into the ring. He got right up in Aldis's face. He called this bullshit. And he said that Aldis is going to make this right or else. So that brought out Jacob Fatu. So now all three men were in the ring. And he said, fix what? Said that Drew never would have even been the champion if it wasn't for me. He fixed the situation last week. So Drew McIntyre is no longer WWE champion. So this isn't about Aldis. This isn't about Cody or anybody else. As Jacob was doing his promo, he was getting chants of what from the crowd. Says, so Drew's pointing fingers at everybody else. He's pointing fingers at the referee. He's pointing fingers at Nick Aldis. But let's keep it real. I'm the one that screwed your ass. So what the hell is Drew going to do about it? And Drew said, what am I going to do about it? He said, you and Nick and Cody and all of these people, I'm done with it. And he walked right up to Nick Aldis and he told him, I quit. And with that, he left the ring and he exited through the crowd. So if this sounds awfully familiar to you, then it should. For good reason, if it's deja vu that you're getting, because this is not the first time that Drew McIntyre has uttered the words, I quit. And I don't mean in an I quit match. They ran the same angle 2 years ago with him and CM Punk where he quit the company. I quit. That was in 2024. They ran the same angle with him again here in 2026. So I guess every year or two we're going to have Drew McIntyre come out and quit when he doesn't get his way. Actually, this was more akin to what Bret Hart did in 1997, if we're being perfectly honest. Bret Hart came out after the Royal Rumble. Remember? Stone Cold Steve Austin screwed him out of a win in the Rumble. And Shawn Michaels had screwed him the month before out of winning the WWE Championship. He got screwed by Shawn. He got screwed by Austin. He looked at Vince McMahon. He goes, I quit. If I'm not getting a title match, I quit. And before the night was even over, he was already back. And the same thing happened tonight with Drew McIntyre. Before this show was even over, he had already unquit and come back. He's the modern day Bret Hart. Only Bret had more time with the belt than Drew did. He had more reigns with it than Drew did. But that's basically what this was like. We'll get back to Drew McIntyre later. This was not the last time that we would see him here on this show. We go to the back, and we see Solo Sikoa and the MFTs. And they're discussing strategy. And he says that him and Tonga, they're going to be taking on Uncle Howdy and Erick Rowan. Because this is the feud that will not die. Solo asked Tonga, watch over the stolen lantern. This is your responsibility tonight to make sure you are the protector of the lantern. And so everybody but Tonga leaves. He's standing there with the lantern and he can sense someone's presence behind him. And when he turns around, there's Shinsuke Nakamura. This is apparently his only role on the show is to torment Tonga every single week. And he looks at Tonga and he once again asks him, when are you going to be your own man? But Solo Sikoa walks back in. And he warns Nakamura, stay the hell away before you get hurt. So after a break, Jacob Fatu was with Nick Aldis. He was not happy that Drew McIntyre just up and quit. Right when he was about to whoop, and before he could finish what he was going to say, Trick Williams interrupted. And Jacob wasn't very happy about that. He chewed him out. Trick was upset about being disrespected by Fatu, and then last week by Randy Orton. And he told Nick Aldis, do your job. And so Aldis did. And he said, well, I'm going to make a match right now. It's going to be you and Jacob Fatu later on tonight. So we got an impromptu match here on this show. But after this, unfortunately, pain. I feel pain. we had Solo Sikoa and Tala Tonga against Uncle Howdy and Erick Rowan. When I saw this in the preview, I cried on the inside. And when it was over, I cried more. You'll know why here in a second. They went through a break to complete and total apathy here from the crowd in Phoenix. Solo tagged in. He tried to hit Sister Abigail on Howdy. He got reversed, though, into a back suplex. So they each tagged out. And the big guys came in. Erick Rowan, Tala Tonga. They went at it for a little bit. Rowan got him up on his shoulders. Solo, though, blind tagged back in. That allowed Tala Tonga to escape. Anyway, Solo tried to hit a big Samoan splash. Erick Rowan, though, got the knees up. Howdy tagged in. He attempted Sister Abigail, but that got countered into a Samoan spike. And Rowan broke up the subsequent count. He and Tala Tonga, they took each other out at ringside. So at this point, things broke down outside with the Wyatts and the MFTs. Solo went to the floor. He took out Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy with Samoan spikes. And as Solo got back in the ring, he had Howdy in position for a spike when he looked over. And the lantern was unguarded, sitting there on the apron. And Nikki Cross, who I'm pretty sure has not wrestled a match in about 6 years at this point. I don't even know if she would remember how to wrestle. But she slowly walks over towards the lantern, and Solo is looking and point, "Don't you dare." And she takes possession of the urn. And I'm thinking, or the whatever the fuck it is, the lantern. And I'm thinking to myself, this is great. Yes, Nikki, run. Run. Take it and go. Right? And she starts to make off with the lantern. And that distraction opened up Solo to his sister Abigail from Uncle Howdy, who picks up the win for his team. And this actually got a reaction. Now, I would like to think that this whole finishing sequence here got a reaction because the people like me were so happy that this was finally over. They were overjoyed. And I'm thinking, thank God, it's finally over. The babyfaces have won again, and they have taken possession of the lantern. My joy, however, was short-lived. Because after the match, as Howdy took possession of the lantern, he got blasted from behind by Tama Tonga with a hidden blade. And Tama Tonga took possession back of the lantern. The fucking MFTs took the lantern back, and they retreated to the back. They are going to drag this shit all the way out to WrestleMania. And now I'm just left to wonder, what kind of a match are they going to have? Is it going to involve Solo and Howdy? Is it going to involve all the members of both factions? What could they possibly... Are they going to suspend the lantern above the ring and have a ladder match between the two factions? Or better yet, maybe we could have a lantern on a pole. We could have a pole match at WrestleMania. I can honestly sit here and tell you, and again, I say it every week, this is not a knock on any of the individual performers in this. I fucking hate this storyline. I am so done with this, and the fact that they are going to drag this out all the way to WrestleMania makes me sick. Because this is just one of those things where it is so lazy. This has been going on for so long. It is the most just surface level, bare bones form of storytelling that you could possibly think of, that this is the best thing that they could come up with, and they think this makes for good television. I don't understand it. I just don't. The babyfaces have now been successful 2 separate occasions, and they have taken possession back of the lantern, only for the heels to just take it back, so that we can drag this out and prolong this even more. For all of the time that they have now devoted to this feud, literal months and months of this, they've gotten very little return on their investment. Because every single time that some combination of these guys are in the ring together, they are just wrestling to no reaction. They are wrestling to crickets and nobody cares. There was no engagement from the crowd. There was no back and forth except for the finish where, again, people were just happy it was over with. It's not just me watching from home on television. I'm watching the same fucking show that everybody else is watching. And I'm paying very close attention to whether the fans are engaged. I'm thinking maybe I'm just weird. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm in the minority here. But I'm not. Nobody seems to care about this. Why are we still doing this? We go backstage. Damian Priest is talking to R-Truth. They had just gotten done watching what we all watched. Sorry for them. R-Truth was wearing a Stone Cold Steve Austin t-shirt as we get ready for 316 Day. He has not officially been announced for 316 Day, but it'll be very disappointing if he's not there on the show. He'll be on Busted Open Radio, by the way, Monday morning. So I'm sure LaGreca and then we'll ask him point blank, are you going to be on Raw tonight? Otherwise, what the hell is the point of even doing the interview? So Truth thought the MFTs were the Judgment Day, and so Damian Priest had to correct him and tell him that's not the Judgment Day. Priest said that when they face those guys, though, they will become the WWE Tag Team Champions. Who are the Tag Team Champions? Who are the Tag Team Champions on this show? Oh, it's the MFTs. My God. Oh, my God. They're feuding over the lantern. I totally forgot they have belts. Anyway, Los Garza shows up. They complain about Priest and Truth stealing the win after all they did. Talking about the match last week. After all the hard work in the gauntlet match that they put in. And Priest just remembered taking them out quickly during that match. And then he said, you know what, I'm going to go talk to Nick Aldis. And I'm going to make a match between the four of us tonight. Yeah. Hey, look. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. When that feud is so focused on a lantern, it is hard to remember that the actual tag team championships are involved as well. Because the titles have taken a backseat to the lantern. The lantern is really the subject of this entire storyline, this whole feud between them. It really doesn't have anything to do with the tag team titles. And the tag team division fucking sucks on this show, so it's easy to just forget about the tag team titles altogether. Can't blame me for that. Jade Cargill, the WWE Women's Champion, took on Michin tonight. Non-title. Before the match, they cut to comments. This was very weird. So they cut to comments backstage earlier from Julia and Kiana James. And they were directed towards Tiffany Stratton. Kiana said that Tiffany talks a big game. And Julia asked Tiffany, do you really think that you could take this U.S. title from me? And I was very confused. And I was racking my... Now, I was not here last week, although I did go back and skim the important parts of the show. I was at House of Glory last week. But correct me if I'm wrong. Was there a segment or a promo recently on the show where Tiffany Stratton said something about Julia and Kiana James? The only time I could remember any real interaction with them, or maybe a mention of the U.S. title, was back in October when they bumped into each other backstage. So I'm watching this and I'm like, this felt like something that was kind of forced in there because clearly the direction for WrestleMania is going to be Julia and Tiffany Stratton. And they were like, well, we got to do something here. But they're talking like Tiffany had just cut a promo on them last week or had done something to disrespect them last week. Did I miss something here? I mean, am I just totally out to lunch on this particular storyline, or are they just pretending that they're manufacturing something that doesn't exist? It wouldn't shock me because with the way this WrestleMania build has been going, if they just fucking rushed it and forced it. But I was like, what are they talking about? So Michin attacked right away, and she even caught Jade with a suicide dive outside the ring, only for Jade to just basically no sell it, come right back and mow her down with a pump kick. And she took over on offense. So Jade gave her a fall away slam on the floor outside and she kipped up into a commercial break. And it ended the way that you would expect. Jade licked her and then gave her a chokeslam and then finished her off with the Jaded for the win. As Jade matches go, there was really nothing technically bad about it. I thought as a match it was fine. I mean, it didn't have any heat, but outside of that, it was okay. Wasn't a squash or anything. I mean, they gave Michin more offense than you would expect. So when the match was over, Kathy Kelly got in the ring to interview Jade, and Jade very rudely snatched the microphone out of her hand, told her to get lost. And Jade said, you know, the whole world thinks that I should be scared of one woman, Rhea Ripley. She said that she hasn't been afraid of anything her entire life. She promised to beat Ripley at WrestleMania and that she would always be on top. And that brought out Rhea Ripley. And Jade bailed outside at that point. Rhea got in the ring. And Rhea said that at WrestleMania, Jade wouldn't be that. She wouldn't be she would be her bitch. That's it. Really deep stuff there. Really, really deep stuff here in this promo. 5 weeks. They have 5 weeks to really try to put some heat on this. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do. If this is what we're doing here, where every week they're just going to say, I'm that bitch. No, I'm that bitch. You know what? I'm half expecting that, like, Vince McMahon is secretly texting Triple H stuff, and we're going to, or Bruce, and we're going to get a pose down between them. That would totally be a Vince segment. I'm waiting for the pose down between them. Remember the Triple H and Scott Steiner pose down back in the day? Honestly, outside of like Jade doing something dastardly to Io Sky as a way to get at Rhea, and I'd rather not, because Io should have her own dedicated storyline and match that she's preparing for WrestleMania. Asuka. Outside of her doing something like that, I'm not even sure, honestly, what they can do. Because clearly, on the promo side, you know, they're not leaning into any of the social media stuff from last week. And on the promo side, there ain't much there. There really isn't. You know, but again, if she did something to Io obviously is best friends with Rhea. They've established this. That would be something, but, you know, I wouldn't want her to do something that takes, you know, Io out of WrestleMania or anything like that. Yes, Rude and the Warrior. I forgot about that one too. Maybe Jade will crack one of those workout bars across Rhea's back. They'll have like a push-up contest. Jade was doing push-ups in the middle of her match with Michin tonight. I'm telling you, we're going to be getting some kind of pose down type segment soon. You watch. You watch. Cody Rhodes was backstage. He was chatting with Nick Aldis about the contract signing later on with Randy Orton. Said that I looked the contract over and everything looks to be in order. So Aldis left and said, I'll see you out there. Sami Zayn showed up. He's been stalking this man for weeks. Everywhere Cody goes, he turns and there he is. I mean, he's like Cody's Danhausen, where he just turns around and he's there. So Sami said, look, I don't want to make a big thing about this. I just want to congratulate you. You went out and did exactly what you said you were going to do. You won the championship back last week. So I just wanted to congratulate you for it. Cody, though, he goes, look, I don't want to fight with you, but he knows that Sami said the same thing to Randy, right? Congratulating him after he won the Elimination Chamber. So he says, Sami deserves a title shot. You need to stop beating around the bush and just come out with it. So Sami is offended by these comments. Says he gave Randy respect because he admires him. He looks up to Randy. He doesn't look up to Cody. But he doesn't look up to Cody because they're friends. And he says as friends, they're supposed to be equals. Cody might be champion again, but Sami still thinks that they're equals and he shouldn't be spoken down to. So Cody says he looks up to Sami. He's inspired by him. And Sami might not look up to him, and that's fine, but all he has to do is look at the title. So Cody leaves, and Sami has another meltdown before Aleister Black and Zelina Vega show up. And Black wonders if the title just might not be meant for Sami. And that really pisses Sami off. And he gets up in his face, and Sami tells him, stay away from me. It's actually hilarious to me that they have literally literally taken the Karrion Kross and Scarlett gimmick and just transferred it to Aleister Black. And like, they're not even hiding it. Like, it is literally the same thing. I don't know. I guess they felt, you know what? We don't really need to spend the money on the same act. So we already got these guys under contract. We'll just do it with them. Instead of having 4, we only have to pay 2. I don't know. It's so funny to me. I mean, there's nothing different about it. There is nothing different about it. Oh, man. Yeah. And then Black says, fight me. Fight me. I'm not sure if this is really all that much better than him sitting in a dark room for 6 weeks all those years ago. Because he shows up for like 10 seconds and that's it. Now, he does have a win over Randy Orton. Remember that. Randy Orton is the #1 contender for the WWE Championship. He is going to be in one of the WrestleMania main events. Are they going to circle back around to the fact that Aleister Black has a win over him at some point? Especially if Randy wins the title of WrestleMania, Aleister Black should show up the very next week on SmackDown and go, hey, where's my title shot? I got to win over the champion. I want my title shot. We had Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss against Nia Jax and Lash Legend. This was for the women's tag team titles. The Bella Twins. Oh. Just goes from bad to worse. The Bella Twins come out to the ring before the match, and they address the crowd. And the sisters Bella said that it felt good to be back on SmackDown. And the reason they're here was that they were next in line for the women's tag team titles. I guess they said it, so that makes it true, I guess. Okay. Sure. Why not? So they said they're going to be sitting at ringside to observe. They're going to be scouting the competition tonight. So Bliss tried to go for a diving cannonball off the apron. Nia caught her and slammed her on the ring apron. Charlotte then dropped Nia with a dive. Lash took her out with a big boot. And then they took another commercial break, and it literally felt like they had just come back from commercial, like 2 minutes early. I didn't time it with my stopwatch, but I'm like, didn't they just take a commercial? And then the match just started, and they're already back to going to a commercial. And then I realized something, and this has been something I've realized for a while, but it really hit me watching this show tonight. And I've watched WWE for most of my life at this point. Okay, well over 30 years. So I've seen a lot of WWE television. I've seen a lot of commercials, right? A lot of commercial breaks on these shows. But one thing I can honestly, and I'm not even trying to be funny, I'm not joking or being facetious or anything when I say this. If you watch these shows live, that goes for Raw and SmackDown. SmackDown probably more so because it's 3 hours instead of 2.5 on Netflix. If you watch these WWE shows live today in 2026, the live viewing experience has never been worse. It is as bad today as it has been in the 30 plus years that I have been watching this product. Oh. It's very appropriate for that to pop up just now. Thank you, Tuxedo. But in all seriousness, I mean, the live viewing experience is horrendous. Now, I watch the shows live, right? I choose to, because obviously I come on here with you guys when the show is over and we talk about it. So I don't have the luxury of this is what I intend to do, and this is what I do. This is my job. Obviously, I don't have the luxury of just being like, I'll watch it tomorrow. I'll watch it in bits and pieces throughout the week. That's how I used to watch Monday Night Raw there for a while. Because remember, I used to talk about the key stuff on Raw on the following Sunday Sound Of. I didn't really start going live with the Raw reviews on Monday night until Vince left. When Vince left, I said, okay, Let's give this a shot. I'm already covering Dynamite Live and SmackDown. Let's throw Monday in there. That's really where that started. But what I would do sometimes is, because I knew I had the whole week to get through it, and before I talked about it on the sound off, it would take me sometimes 3, 4, 5 days to get through an entire episode of Raw, because there were weeks where Raw was pretty fucking rough. But if you watch these shows live, the way they throw these commercial breaks in there and during the matches, it's not even just in between the matches, it's in the middle of the fucking match so many fucking times. It's horrendous. It's horrendous. The viewing experience has never, ever been as bad as it is right now. It's terrible. I don't know why. I don't know how anybody who doesn't do this stomachs it, or why they wouldn't just wait until the next day or some other time and just, fast forward through and just watch what they want to watch. It's awful. Absolutely awful. So later on, Charlotte tried to move from the apron. She got caught into a Samoan drop for a near fall. Nia dragged Charlotte over to the corner. She was looking for the Annihilator. Charlotte moved out of the way, followed that with a moonsault. Legend broke up the pin, but then fell victim to a tornado DDT from Bliss. So outside the ring, Charlotte and Nia were going at it. And it all ended with Nia pulling Nikki Bella out of her chair into harm's way as Charlotte came in with a big boot. So she inadvertently booted Nikki down to the ground. Back in the ring, Flair connected with Natural Selection. Alexa went up top. She was going to go for Twisted Bliss, but Brie Bella gets into the ring and attacks Nia Jax for the disqualification. Referee calls for the bell. And after the match was over, Nia and Lash, they laid everybody out and they stood tall. And I wrote one word here in my notes at the end of this chapter here. Ugh. That's it. That's all I wrote. Ugh. Because what else is there to say? Now, obviously, they're building to a multi-team match at WrestleMania. That much is clear. Although later on in the back, when the Bellas confronted Charlotte and Alexa, they let them know, we talked to Aldis, and we're up next. And it was announced that the Bella Twins are going to be getting a tag team championship match next week on SmackDown. Now, I'm sure Charlotte and Alexa will be sitting ringside as observers, watching their match next week, and we'll get a very similar angle. And this will all lead to multi-team madness at Mania for the tag belts, at least with Charlotte and Alexa and the Bella Twins against Nia and Lash. They could end up throwing 1 or 2 more teams in there. Who knows? We can get Bayley and Lyra as a team. Raquel and Roxanne. I mean, there's any number of teams that you could throw in there. You want to have 5, 6 teams in there. Turn it into a ladder match if you want. I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying it could end up being more than just those 3 teams. But this is very clearly leading to something in Mania. So whatever's going to happen next week is going to be very similar to what happened tonight. That seems to be the direction here. We go backstage, and we see Jelly Roll is back there. And he's chatting with Damian Priest and R-Truth. And after that, Jelly Roll spots his old friend Randy Orton. And he goes over to Randy, and they're exchanging pleasantries with each other. And I'm going to be on Miz TV. What do you recommend? And Orton says, well, if the Miz is waxing on for too long, you should drop his ass. That was his advice. But I'm watching this and I'm going, why is Jelly Roll here? I mean, I know they love their celebrities and Jelly's cool. I mean, when he was in that match at SummerSlam last year, right? He did his part and I thought he did very well. I can't say that I'm excited to see him in the way that I would be excited if they were bringing Bad Bunny back, because Bad Bunny had a genuinely great fucking singles match with Damian Priest once upon a time. I wouldn't mind seeing him back, but I get why they want them on the shows, right? They're very popular, music artists, millions of downloads. Jelly Roll just won 3 Grammy Awards. WrestleMania is coming up. We got to get the obligatory celebrity on the show. So now we got Jelly Roll back. And they're setting him up here for a segment with The Miz. And I'm like, don't tell me they're doing Jelly Roll and The Miz at WrestleMania. We'll get back to this. First, we have Damian Priest and R-Truth against Los Garza. Truth wrapped to the ring, and then they went to a commercial. They came back. They wrestled for maybe 2.5 minutes, maybe. And then they went to another fucking commercial. I shit you not. And then I'm watching, and they give you the counter in the corner that tells you it's like 7 commercials. You're on commercial 1 of 7. I'm like, well, great. I'll go fix a snack, I guess, for myself. Come back up here. We're only on commercial 5 of 7. So like we have these matches, and it's hard to even like rate or judge the quality of the matches because you miss half of them. It just makes the matches completely inconsequential. It doesn't even matter. Now, sometimes it's interesting because, and I use the VPN, so I'm watching these Smackdowns on Netflix, technically. And maybe it depends on what server you connect to, but it's very inconsistent because some commercial breaks, it'll fade to black and then come right back and you can watch the action, right? Which you can't do on USA Network. But I would say at this point, half the shows, you get the commercials. You get the commercials. So it might depend on what country you're connected to. But I do think they're trying to force more of them in there. But it's like, I would say it's probably half and half split. I think for the Jade match, of all the matches on this show, I got to see what was going on with the Jade match during commercial. Thanks. These WrestleMania commercials are annoying as fuck. Well, that could very well be because, think about it, we have been watching these WrestleMania commercials with Aerosmith since November. Because they were very, very like, we gotta sell tickets for WrestleMania this year. So when tickets went on sale in November, we've been seeing these commercials since November. And it's kind of sad that they still, 5 weeks out, don't even have 40,000 tickets out for either night. Now they'll make a metric fuck ton of money and set a new gate record because of the ticket prices they're charging. But yeah, last I checked, it was still right around 37,000 each night. We're 5 weeks out. Not great. Angel avoided a South of Heaven late in the match. Priest, though, dropped him with a razor's edge. Truth tagged back in, and that set up stereo finishes. Truth hit the attitude adjustment. Priest hit the South of Heaven, and they picked up the win. The fans were into the finish, at least when they hit the double finishing moves there. Honestly, I will say this. Pairing Damian Priest off with R-Truth, even though it makes Priest seem less than because Truth is not someone that really is focused on at a very high level here on this show. So to come out of this long feud with Aleister Black that he won and then just get paired off with R-Truth, it's a step down. But Truth is likable. He's over with the audience. And it allows them to do, comedy in the back. And I actually think it benefits Damian Priest because Damian Priest was very cold. And I do think Priest is better when he is paired off either with someone or a group because he has not been able to recapture what he had when he was with the Judgment Day. And in the immediate aftermath of that, like when him and Rhea split away from the Judgment Day on Raw, they were super over. And ever since he got moved over to SmackDown and he's been by himself, he has not been able to recapture that at all. So I do think he's someone who is better off, frankly, being paired off with at least one other person. So I think for him, it probably benefits him. It's still sad, though, that they felt the need to even put these two together. It's a sad commentary on the state of the tag team division on this show. Speaking of which, that's the perfect segue, talking about the sad state of the tag team division. As we go to the back, and Johnny Gargano, who was no longer in a tag team, but he used to be. And I'm sure he would still love to be. But apparently he is firmly entrenched in his WWE contract, according to Fightful. So he is not going anywhere anytime soon. So anybody looking forward to the DIY FTR rematch in AEW, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. But they go to the back, and there he is. And Johnny Gargano is laying face down on another production case, as he's been doing every single week. He's been laying down on a crate. And Candice LeRae is standing there, and Alex Shelley is standing there as well. and they're trying to figure out what to do with this guy. The bigger story here, honestly, much bigger than any of this bullshit, is what was going on in the background. Did you notice what was going on in the background during this segment? Off in the distance, Jade Cargill was having a conversation with B-Fab. And then they walked off. They left together. So it looks like Jade may be getting herself a new baddie soon. You know, wouldn't that be something at WrestleMania if Rhea Ripley loses because of B-Fab? What a finish that would be to that WrestleMania match. I actually don't mind, and I don't know that this is where they're going with it, but I did float that as a possibility a few months ago, where maybe they would put B-Fab with Jade and maybe even find one other person. Because, you know, when Jade was in AEW, she had the baddies. She had Layla Gray, and I forgot who the other one was. But I don't think that's a terrible idea if they wanted to do something like that here and put a couple of people with her. But, yeah, keep your eye on B-Fab. Something's cooking there. But after Candice rolled Johnny away on his case, Chris Sabin showed up. And he told Shelley that he had just spoken with Nick Aldis and he got them a match with Fraxium on the show next week. And Shelley was all excited. And Sabin was still upset with Shelley for what happened last week, I guess, or just paying more attention to Johnny Gargano because he really thinks he can help Johnny. And he's like, you're paying more attention to this guy than our team. So next week, he's expecting Shelley to prove himself, that he still stands for the Motor City Machine Guns. Elsewhere in the back, The Miz is walking, and he runs into Danhausen. Danhausen shills his new t-shirt, which apparently is selling very well. And Miz is surprised that Danhausen even has merch. He's been here for a week. And Danhausen says, well, I had my new t-shirt the very first night I came in. Which, it is very interesting, isn't it? How we talk about contracts and contract tampering and all this stuff. And clearly Danhausen was still under contract to AEW until like the night before he debuted, because that's when they pulled him off the roster page. It's like when the clock struck midnight, the day of the Elimination Chamber, right? He became a free agent. And it's like they had everything already laid out. Like they had the entrance and they had the music and they had the t-shirts made. It's like, how far in advance did they have this deal made is what I would like to know. So he says that I've got my idea for my own talk show tonight. Miz is like, he's doing Miz TV, but Danhausen has all these ideas about, I'm going to do this show and we'll call it this. And Miz didn't want to hear about it. He blew him off. So Danhausen cursed him again. So you knew exactly where this next segment was going here. Which was Miz TV. And his microphone was not working. Of course not, because he's cursed. So he asked for another one. And then he brought out Jelly Roll to the ring. Jada Parker. See, that's interesting. See, that could work. B-Fab and Jada Parker as Jade's new baddies. That could work. It'd be one way to introduce Jada to the main roster. Is she ready, though? I haven't watched too much NXT of late, because I think Jada disappeared for a while. She may have been hurt. So I haven't seen some of her recent work. Is she ready for a main roster? Well, I'm sure she is. I mean, they got fucking Lash Legend on the main roster, so if Lash is good enough to be on the main roster, I don't see why Jada Parker shouldn't be. So Jelly Roll comes out and said that there was no way he was going to miss his boys, Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, and their big contract signing here tonight in Phoenix. And the fans actually reacted. They showed signs of life here in this segment. So Miz tried to convince Jelly to take him on as a mentor. And Mr. Roll was not interested in that. He knows the history of Miz stabbing partners in the back. Miz mentions Jelly's redemption story, but he pointed out that 2 years ago at SummerSlam, Jelly, he basically, if you remember at SummerSlam, he did a spot. I want to say it was with Austin Theory, right? I think he gave Austin Theory a big choke slam or something. And he had trouble getting up because he was just morbidly obese. As Miz pointed out here, like your obese body, you were not able to get up off the mat. You had to be helped up. And he goes, that was the moment that Jelly knew he needed to change his life. So basically, it's as if he's taking credit for Jelly having this realization that I've got to make a change here in my life, right? So he got very hot about that and asked if Miz was actually trying to take credit for him losing 250 pounds. Well, that would be the Ozempic, right? It's a combination of Ozempic and exercise and everything else. I mean, it's so crazy. I see these pictures of all these celebrities and you see it in their face. I saw something I couldn't even believe. I thought it was AI or something. There was a, God, who was it? Was it Ozzy's daughter? She used to be on a talk show. I don't remember the name of the talk show. Maybe she still is. I don't know. But there was something that came across my timeline and it had her name on there. Kelly Osbourne. And I'm like, that's not Kelly Osbourne. I thought the caption was incorrect. I thought that they were taking her name and inadvertently attaching it to somebody else. I had no idea that that was her. Like, she doesn't even look like the same person. I was like, wow, I had no idea. I had no idea. And then there were people in the comments that were like, piling on her and everything else. And that's awful and terrible. But like, I legit had no idea that this was the same person. It's like, wow. Anyway, so he got very upset with Miz for trying to take credit for his massive weight loss. He called Miz a disgusting person. So then Miz said that he liked Jelly better when he was fat. Jelly says, fat or skinny, I'll whip your ass. It's like when Stone Cold told CM Punk. Remember they had that backstage segment? This is why I hope Austin's on the show on Monday. I would love one more backstage interaction with him and Punk. But they had that show oh God, what year was that? That had to be 2011, right? 2011, 2012? 2011. Yeah, it was definitely June of 2011. And they were in the back and Punk said, like, have you taken a breathalyzer? He wants him to take a breathalyzer. Can you spell the alphabet backwards? And Austin's like, well, no, I could whip your ass backwards. I'm like, so fucking great. Come on, we need another segment with them on Monday. Come on, you cowards. So Miz demanded respect because he's the locker room leader. And Jelly Roll called him a locker room loser. This brings out Kit Wilson. And he says that Miz should stop wasting time talking with Jelly because Jelly is the problem. Jelly says he likes Kit. We all like Kit. And then he does the Kit Wilson pose where he like gyrates. So Wilson doesn't like Jelly's face tattoos or his criminal history. And he says that Jelly Roll is someone running away from who he really is. And then he calls Jelly Roll fat-phobic. And he says that Jelly doesn't inspire anyone. He just promotes an unhealthy beauty standard. And he calls Jelly Roll toxic. So they get to shoving. And Jelly Roll throws a punch. Kit Wilson gets out of the way. And of course, because he's cursed, Miz gets punched by accident. That is how the segment ended. I will say that Jelly Roll is not a bad promo. Again, he is better than most wrestlers I see on TV. And the fans, cheered. They were behind Jelly Roll. He had a certain intensity about his promo that really worked for him. That's probably the best thing I could say about this. Am I excited to see Jelly Roll against The Miz at WrestleMania? I am not. I know it will be the obligatory comedy match, kind of like come down entertainment match of the night, like what we had with Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville all those years ago. What was that, WrestleMania 38? Which, to be fair, that match ended up being a lot of fun. So I'm not saying this can't be a lot of fun, but I'm just saying, like, I can't sit here and tell you I'm excited to see it. I hope it all works out where maybe it'll end up being one of the sleeper matches of the show, but do I care about any of this? No. No, I do not. But my guess is it'll be Miz against Jelly. Danhausen will end up being in Jelly Roll's corner. Kit Wilson will end up being in Miz's corner. And that's going to be the match at WrestleMania. There's really not much else to say about this. We did find out that Kit Wilson is going to be calling out Jelly Roll on next week's show. So apparently he'll be back. They cut to the back, and we see Apollo Crews and Ilya Dragunov. They have Ilya Dragunov hanging out now with Apollo Crews in the back. Last person we saw hanging out with Apollo Crews was Matt Cardona, who I don't think we've seen since. But they're in the back having just watched the segment that we saw, and they're reacting to it in the phoniest of ways, especially Dragunov. Dragunov was like, "Oh wow!" I'm like, dude, like he can't even fake his enjoyment of that segment. He's trying, but it's not working. So Carmelo Hayes shows up. He wants to have a chat with Dragunov, who said that he was stuck between two extremes. Ilya said, ultimate confidence on one hand, self-doubt on the other. And Hayes asked him to lock in, unless there was something more to why he couldn't just fight him. And Dragunov said that he couldn't fight Hayes right now because he was fighting himself. Deep. Doesn't really make for exciting television now, does it? When this is how many weeks in a row now that Ilya Dragunov has said, I can't fight you? And he really hasn't given us a straight answer about why? How many weeks has this been going on for? It's a match I want to see. And if they do it at WrestleMania, that's great. But every fucking week, I can't fight you. I can't fight you. I can't fight you. I'm having an internal struggle. I can't fight you. Doesn't really make for very interesting TV. So as Tiffany Stratton, we go to Tiffany Stratton. She's looking into the camera and she's addressing Julia and Kiana James. And Chelsea Green rolls up behind her in her wheelchair. And as soon as she rolls up, Tiffany just takes the wheelchair and just pushes it. And off goes Chelsea. And then Tiffany turns back to the camera and just continues to cut her promo. And in the background, you see Alba Fire just running, trying to catch up to Chelsea. So that was kind of amusing. And Tiffany said what she said. It's going to be Tiffy time. She was on her way to the ring for her match. Elsewhere, Danhausen appeared again with his jar of teeth. And he asked The Miz if he got any of his teeth knocked out by Jimmy Jam because he wanted to add more to his collection. And Danhausen then reminded Miz, there was one way. There's only one way to reverse the curse. And Miz was about to tell him off, but again, when he turned around, Danhausen was gone. Tiffany Stratton against Kiana James. After a break, Chelsea Green was rolled down to the ring by Alba Fire. Kiana went for a powerbomb. Stratton countered with the rolling senton. She was getting ready to hit the prettiest moonsault ever when Julia pulled Kiana out of the ring. And so, Tiffany decided to hit a dive out onto both James and Julia at ringside. So in all of the chaos, Chelsea stands up out of her wheelchair. She's got her walking boot on for her broken ankle, which is legitimately broken. She stands up out of the wheelchair, and she is wielding what appears to be a pink wrench. And she is teasing that she is going to hit Tiffany with the wrench. Julia, though, gets in the way and stops her. Tiffany ends up getting back in the ring. Julia gets up on the apron and grabs Tiffany. So Kiana comes in with a big boot. Tiffany moves, and she inadvertently boots Julia, who gets knocked off the apron, and she falls on top of Chelsea and Alba and awkwardly kind of falls on them and wipes them out at ringside. And then back in the ring, Stratton finishes things off with the rolling senton and the prettiest moonsault ever for the win. It was actually a solid match before all of the wackiness there at the end. Tiffany and Julia for the U.S. title was the match I talked about a couple weeks ago. It just seemed to me to be the obvious direction for Tiffany just by process of elimination, because what else would Tiffany be doing on the show, right? She's got to be doing something. Julia was the only one who has a championship who had no obvious opponent, so just put the two of them together. So that clearly is the direction for Mania. The question, though, is where does Chelsea Green fit into all this? Because It feels to me like for weeks now, we've seen Tiffany interacting with Chelsea and Alba. So they've been building something with them. If they think that Chelsea is going to be back in time and cleared in time for WrestleMania, and again, she's got, I think it's a small break, but there is a break in her ankle. I don't know how long she's been out already for. If there's a possibility that she will be back in time for WrestleMania, they can make it a triple threat. But right now, it looks like it's going to be Tiffany and Julia one-on-one, and great. There's no reason for that title not to be represented on a show where every other women's championship is going to be defended. Like, you can't do that. You can't defend every other women's title and leave this one off the show. What message does that send? So I'm happy they found something for Julia to do. She's probably going to lose, but I'm happy they found something for her to do on the show. If you're going to have the 2 world titles and the women's IC and the women's tag belts all represented at WrestleMania, you can find room for the U.S. title on that show, right? And again, there's talk that there could be 5 or 6 women's matches on the card. Fine, as long as this is one of them. And if Chelsea happens to be cleared, then they could just throw her in there, because it would be nice for Chelsea to get a role on the show too. If not, she could sit in her wheelchair ringside. Now, backstage, Kathy Kelly interviewed Trick Williams about his upcoming match with Jacob Fatu. Sami Zayn showed up. This is his new thing now. He just shows up. And he told Trick to keep talking. He remembered Trick saying that he would walk into the main event of WrestleMania and put the company on his back. And he also remembered Trick saying that he couldn't get the job done, he being Sami. Sami said Trick runs his mouth, but he can't back it up. He says Trick is embarrassed, as he should be. So Trick says, "You're lucky that I have a match coming up or I would drop your ass." And Sami said, "I'm here every week. I'm not a hard man to find, so I'll see you around." I just love how Sami Zayn's new gimmick is that he's just backstage stirring up shit with everyone. He's just like the resident shit stirrer in the back. He's just, sidling up to Cody, picking fights with Trick Williams. He's walking up to Randy Orton. He's being confronted by Aleister Black. He's got a lot. He's got more going on backstage than he does in the ring. Still has no WrestleMania match, although I would think Trick Williams would be the obvious match for him. So we had Jacob Fatu against Trick Williams. We finally got a good match on this show. Finally. Trick lined up the trick shot. Fatu landed a super kick and then a pop-up Samoan drop. Fatu went up top for the Swanton Bomb, only got a near fall out of it. So Trick rolled out of the ring. Fatu followed. And both men, they wind up in front of the announce desk outside. But guess who's back? He quit, but now he unquit because Drew McIntyre showed up, unbeknownst to the referee. And he attacked Fatu, put him back in the ring. That set up a trick shot, and Trick Williams gets the pin on Jacob Fatu. So you had to see that coming, right? I mean, you knew it was going to be a fuck finish in this match of some kind. Up until that point, though, what we got from these two I thought was good before we got the obvious Drew McIntyre return. After the match, McIntyre took out Fatu in the ring with a Claymore kick. And before the main event segment, this is skipping ahead a little bit, but when Nick Aldis was in the ring for the contract signing, before he even went into that, he did make an announcement, which is that he wanted to welcome back Drew and also let him know that next week on SmackDown, he's got a match with Jacob Fatu. So they're doing the match on TV next week. This is going to lead to a rematch at WrestleMania. And this actually kind of makes sense because there's been rumors. There was a report, it might have been from WrestleVotes, that WWE was looking to really load up a lot of matches at WrestleMania with stipulations. In part because they have the first hour of WrestleMania on both nights is on ESPN2 and ESPN, but they want to have stipulations for some of the undercard matches on the show. And so it makes sense if they're going to do the first match between them next week. We're not going to get a clean finish or a decisive finish. And then they'll run it back at WrestleMania with a stipulation. And I just look back to last year. What was Drew McIntyre doing on the WrestleMania card last year? He was wrestling Damian Priest in a Sin City street fight. Would not at all be shocked if they put Drew back in the Sin City street fight again this year. or some sort of stipulation, but some kind of street fight stipulation would make sense. That's what this feels like to me. So I think that's what they're going to end up doing. And, as soon as he lost the championship, this was the obvious match. And I still sit here, and I maintain I am not convinced that Drew McIntyre was the one who kicked Jacob's teeth out of his mouth. Now, maybe they're just going to abandon that story altogether. Maybe Drew will pop up on television one of these weeks and he'll cop to it and say, you know what, I lied. I really did do it. But I'm just telling you, I still think it's going to end up being either Randy Orton or Sami Zayn. I was leaning towards Orton. And actually, him doing what he did to Cody tonight kind of lends more credence to that, to be honest with you. But I am still not convinced that it was Drew McIntyre behind that attack. But they closed the show with the only segment of the night that really mattered, if we're being perfectly honest here. It was the contract signing for the WWE title match between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. And Randy came out, he was cheered. Cody came out, and he got boos. Wasn't booed out of the building, but he got boos. Noticeable boos. Certainly more than what... Randy didn't get any boos, but he certainly got boos himself. So Cody and Randy are in the ring, and they hug. And they sit right next to each other at the table. Randy even asked him, is it a little awkward, the two of us sitting so close together? He was being awfully nice. This should have been a dead giveaway. Something was going down here. So Cody said, in 2007, his very first match in WWE was against Randy Orton. And he would then go on to watch Randy win the Royal Rumble in main event WrestleMania. And that terrible main event. And he thought, if he could be like that one day. And then he left. And Randy put a post out after Cody left about how he thought that Cody could be a world champion one day. So he's always been proud to be Randy's boy. And with that, Cody signed the contract. Randy Orton's turn now, but he hesitates. He goes to sign it. He stops short. He stands up. He goes in the corner. He bows his head like he's conflicted about something. And he takes the microphone. He goes, he doesn't think Cody understands. Like, I need this. And he's pointing up at the WrestleMania sign. Like, I need this. But this wasn't supposed to be this hard. It was supposed to be Drew. It was supposed to be him against Drew for the championship. But now Cody is the champion. And Cody gets up and he tells him, let me take this weight off your shoulders. When the bell rings at WrestleMania, right? He says, we get to watch the best Randy Orton that there's ever been. He gets the legend killer, the one that JBL said, if you built a wrestler from the ground up, it would be Randy Orton. Says he knows that they get the master of the RKO. But that's when the bell rings. And after it's over, he wants him to know he will always love him. So Randy goes and he signs the contract. And with that, the two of them shook hands. Right now, I'm waiting to see someone coming out. Is Randy going to do? I thought Randy was just going to drop him on the spot with an RKO. But they shake hands, and then Randy rams him. Randy the Ram, he rams him face first into the table, and then he just kicks him square in the dick. And I just got flashbacks to a year ago with the John Cena stuff. But he kicks him in the dick. He rips Cody's shirt off. He throws him out of the ring. He goes outside. He throws Cody over the announce desk. And then he picks up the ring steps and he hits Cody in the head with them when Cody gets back up. So Nick Aldis comes over because we got to get away from Cody here for a minute. Let Cody do his business. Nick Aldis comes over and Randy shoves him down on his ass. So now when they cut back to Cody, Cody comes up and he is busted wide open. I mean, he looked like he hit a good one here. He's got blood just pouring out of his head. And it's all over his tie and his shirt and everything. Randy places him on top of the announce desk and he's just punching away at his forehead. And Randy leans the steps up against the announce desk. And he places Cody's head. Now, Cody is laying on the desk. He places Cody's head in the crevice of the ring steps. I'm like, what are they going to do here? So Jelly Roll, who was in the crowd watching this, Jelly Roll now comes over. I guess he's trying to calm down Randy. What are you doing, Randy? Or sing him a fucking song. Randy turns around and he shoves Jelly Roll down. So Randy looks down at himself and he sees, Cody's blood is all over his arms and Cody's blood is all over his chest. And he looks stunned at his own actions. Like he snapped. Can't believe what he's done. And he goes to leave. So Aldous gets back up, Jelly Roll gets back up, and they go over to check on Cody, who, again, is laying on the desk. His head is in the crevice of the steps, and all the officials are there checking on him. Randy eventually comes back, though. He's got a steel chair. And he climbs up on top of the announce desk, and he smashes the steps, right? So supposedly he's caving Cody's head in with the chair. But he hit the steps. And so it made a nice loud sound. And at that point, they got this great shot of Randy, who is standing on top of the announce desk with a chair in his hand, and you see the WrestleMania sign behind him off in the distance. So then Randy gets in the ring, he grabs the WWE title, and he sits down in a chair, and he's just holding the belt up against his waist as he's sitting there. And they're going off the air, and you just hear the fans chanting, Randy, Randy, Randy. Even though he just tried to murder Cody Rhodes, right? The golden boy. They are cheering for Randy Orton and chanting his name as the show goes off the air. Now, there were some boos when the initial turn happened and he had Cody outside and he was bleeding and Orton was attacking him and he shoved down, Jelly Roll. Like, I don't want to make it sound like there were no boos and they were just like cheering wildly for him the entire time. But they were cheering for Randy Orton, and especially when the show went off the air, they were chanting the man's name, which you would think is not the reaction that you would be going for in a situation like this. That's going to be a problem going forward now. That's going to be a problem. And it just felt to me like this is 2025 all over again, where they did the turn with John Cena before WrestleMania instead of waiting until Mania, which in hindsight would have been the better thing to do. As great as that angle was at Elimination Chamber, I think looking at what they did, it would have been better to save the turn. It would have been more impactful to save the turn. If you were going to turn Cena, save it for WrestleMania. Instead, he went into the match already as a heel. He worked the match as a heel. Nobody wanted to see that. And then we had that dog shit ending with Travis Scott and No Rock. So we got a belt shot and a nut shot, and he wins number 17. That will forever be a stain on Triple H and his booking of that WrestleMania last year. I don't care what anybody says. They ruined number 17 last year. Now imagine if Cena had gone into that match. And one of my concerns about even doing that match at all last year was they were so alike. Cody is basically trying to be this generation's version of John Cena. So, it could be a very boring build up to WrestleMania if you just have two baby faces like Cena and Cody being nice to each other. They would have had to come up with a way to build tension between them. But again, how much better would it have been if people really didn't see it coming? And he's so desperate to win 17, he resorts to a nut shot or a belt shot. And it's like, oh my God, not only did he set the record, he turned fucking heel, right, in the main event. And now I'm kind of looking at this a year later and I'm like, I hope I don't end up feeling the same way when this WrestleMania is over, where it's like, shit, this would have been so much better if they would have saved the turn for Mania itself, instead of maybe just doing a title change, right? If Randy goes in there and wins the belt from him, I'll happily eat my words if WrestleMania goes off the air with them doing some sort of double turn. I don't even see how that would work. So assuming that's not the case, I think that was a mistake. We'll see what Orton's explanation is for why he did what he did. Cody was being very magnanimous and very respectful of him and saying all the right things. When the bell rings, you go out there and you be Randy Orton. Like, I love you like a brother and I'm your boy and I respect you and all this stuff. And then Orton just decided to fucking murder the guy. Now we need to know the why. And what is this build now going to look like between now and then? Is Cody going to forgive him for what he did? Is Cody going to want to rip his head off? I would imagine Cody will have the same exact reaction he had to John Cena last year, where he has all this like infinite respect for this guy, right? But he was very angry, and they had, you know, officials come out to get in between them so Cody wouldn't kill him. Only when Cody finally went face to face with John Cena and he could have put his hands on him, he didn't. So I don't know. I just don't want to go through this shit again, right? The build last year was very underwhelming, and I just fear like here we are again, and they haven't learned from those mistakes, and I just don't want them to do the exact same thing they did last year. But I'm watching this going, okay, well, I mean, I didn't expect them to do this angle tonight. It kind of felt rushed in that regard. I just hope that they didn't rush it for the sake of, oh, we got to get something going here, because the build has been very underwhelming for this WrestleMania. We got something over here with Roman and Punk on Raw. We got to do something big here on the SmackDown side. So let's just do the turn now, right? And get a viral moment out of it. I really hope there's a good plan for this. I really do, because Randy's going to continue to get these kinds of reactions. And this is in the lead up to the show. It would have been one thing if he would have still been a babyface, right? People still would have cheered for Randy Orton. Cody would have gotten more split reactions. And now it's just going to be very weird if he's coming out there trying to play heel and people don't want to boo him. Like, are we really going to go through this again? 2 years in a row? You know, that's my only gripe with it. But obviously it was the best thing on the entire show by a country mile. Nothing else they did tonight even comes close. I sat around waiting the entire night for this 15-minute contract signing at the end of the show. And it shouldn't be that way, where it's like, I can't wait for this fucking show to be over. I mean, this was a tough show to sit through tonight. They just seem to be getting worse. I don't understand it. It's inexcusable. With the talent they have and the resources that they have at their disposal and the creative minds that they could have sitting in the room planning out their biggest show of the fucking year, to be putting on television shows like the one that they gave us tonight. Or that Raw show from a couple of weeks ago. I mean, we're barely even 3 months into the year, and there have already been multiple candidates for worst show of the year before we even get to WrestleMania. Are they trying to set the expectations for this show so low that when we get there, they blow us away with an amazing show? Right? Are they playing 4D chess? Like, what's going on here? It's going to take a lot more than what we saw in that main event tonight to save this show week after week if they think they could just churn out one big angle at the end of 3 hours. This is the Twitter poll. What did you think of SmackDown from Phoenix? 43% thumbs up and about 57% thumbs down. Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for that closing angle, those numbers would be, that gap would be a lot bigger than it is. A lot of that 43%, I'm telling you right now, was that closing segment. It's just unbelievable. And they have the audacity to charge the kinds of ticket prices they charge for these shows. Somehow the shows get worse and the prices go up. I mean, if that isn't a slap in the face, I don't know what is. I really don't. Shout out to Joseph. Happy Friday to you, brother. I wish SmackDown gave you a better show. Maybe Road Dogg quit because he just couldn't stand his name being attached to these shows. It's like, I can't take it no more. I got to get out of here. I'm tired of being blamed for this. Joseph, I'm a Tony Montana guy. When it comes to Al Pacino roles, Tony Montana. And De Niro for me. Godfather 1 or 2. Ooh, I'll go Godfather 2. Cape Fear, yeah, saw that many years ago. He was a very disturbing character in that movie. Goodfellas or Godfather? Goodfellas. Goodfellas or Casino? Goodfellas. Did I know that Cape Fear movie is a remake of... No, I did not know that. Spielberg. Scorsese. Why does WWE want Randy Orton to have the most world title wins after John Cena? Who says they do? You say that as if it's a guarantee that Randy Orton is going to break John Cena's record. I don't think that's the case at all. Far from a guarantee. Will you be going to see the new Robert Pattinson Zendaya movie? No. No, I will not. And the Michael Jackson movie? No. I have about 5 or 6 movies on my list of movies I'd like to see this year, and neither one of those are on my list. Was I a fan of The Godfather 3? No. Joseph, I hope you have a great weekend. See, I try to give Joseph my answers in a snappy way. Some of these are so easy, I don't even have to think about them. Death Scythe says, just like Hulk Hogan, Roman Reigns has always been a heel. Sometimes he likes the masquerade as a babyface. He even poisoned Stephanie McMahon's drink. What? What are you talking about? Triple H poisoned Stephanie's drink. Paid off somebody too at the bachelorette party, right? We got Big Money. Is that Boss Mo Jackson? I think it might be. Big Money Jackson. Can you see Uncle Howdy getting a title run in WWE? Outside of the tag team titles, no. Will Drew show up on Raw next week? Well, now you got your answer. He was already back before the show was even over. Am I a fan of Jamaican food? I might be if I ever had some. I've never eaten it before. Your favorite Terminator movie? Terminator 2. Judgment Day. One of the best movies ever made. Are you a fan of the Vanity Project in NXT? I have not seen enough of them to say one way or the other. Rhea looks like she is Edward Scissorhands' sister. Well, she's a lot sexier than Edward Scissorhands is, that's for sure. Aleister Black needs a change to Raw. Keep him away from Sammy. If they move him to Raw, he will not be doing anything much different than what they have him doing now. It would just be a lateral move. Broly says, Baydala was the one who first reported Mariah May leaving AEW, has been teasing Statlander potentially leaving AEW soon. It's the first I'm hearing about it. I haven't heard anything else about it. I don't know what her contract status is. If she becomes available, I think WWE would be crazy not to scoop her up. She would be a great addition to that roster. What would her name be? Half these people, they make them change their names. Half of them don't. I'm pretty sure she would be one of the people that would have to change her name. What would her new name be? Dry Chicken says, I dare Jade Cargill to bring a bag full of baby products, send a message to the Rhea defenders by calling them the Rhea Crybabies. Yeah, don't do that. Big Mo Jackson. I love Drew McIntyre, but I hate his booking. It's not fair. Yeah, I mean, look, you got your WWE title run. That's about as good as you're going to get. Chris O'Neill, thoughts on Ricky Sosa? Very talented young man. Very excited to see how high he can climb. I'm very impressed by what I've seen. What was it? God, what did I see him use the other day? It wasn't the Blue Thunder Bomb. It was like the Blue Thunder Slam. I'm already a fan. Venom Kitetsu. with $2. Ever play Smash TV or Total Carnage on arcade? I did not play Smash TV. I did play Total Carnage, but not in the arcade. I actually played it on MS-DOS on a computer. Very different experience, I'm sure, than playing it in the arcade. Josh Herman with a $9.99. Hey, Solo, where do you like to sit for wrestling events? I've only been to one, and I sat on the floor a few rows back, but I found out once people stand up, it's hard to see the ring. Thanks for the advice. Well, especially if they have signs. If they stand up and they hold up their signs, that's a double whammy. I mean, where do I like to sit? I like to sit in the front row. If I could afford it, which if I went to a WWE show, I wouldn't. So if you're not in the front row, my advice is even the first 2 rows. If you could be in the first 2 rows, that's great. Anything past that, it's not even worth it being on the floor. You want to be one level up. So what is that, section 100 or something? That to me, that's the best place to be. You're still close, but you're not so close that your view is going to be obstructed. But it all comes down to your budget. If we're talking a WWE show, brother, I mean, I honestly don't think it's worth it to go to a WWE show at these prices. I think it's insanity. For the product that they are putting out right now, it is insulting, the prices that they are charging. Broly, AAA should let talent help write their build, just like Punk, Roman, Orton, Cody are helping write their own build. Differences are night and day. Yes, but that would negate the need for a creative team. They have people that they pay to do that sort of thing. It's one thing to have the talent give input, which I think is great. But also keep in mind that not everybody is going to put together something like Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho did when they put basically their whole feud together in 2008. Not everybody has such a creative mind that is a good idea. There are a lot of wrestlers and talents out there who have terrible ideas. And believe me, it could be a lot worse. So you got to be careful when you say that. You might have some guys that they got it up here. They're very creative. And then you may have some where it's like, ugh, yeah, that's not a good idea. Let's not do that. But I think you want to work in concert with the creative team and give your input. And I think you do want to give the talent some flexibility to a point. But you got to understand that they have people whose job it is to come up with these ideas. If they're just going to outsource it to the talent, then what's the point of having a creative team? Vibes and stuff. Cody fell for it again. Lesnar, Cena, and Orton all turned on him. When will he learn the ruthless aggression era can't be trusted? Well, I'll tell you, you would think that now would be a good time to learn. If he did go heel, he would have good reason to. He's been turned on too many times by men. Let me rephrase that. He's been turned on by too many men here. Okay, you know what? Forget this. Vibes and stuff. You know what I mean. We have TF Addict 86 with a $5 super chat. Happy Friday the 13th, Solo. What's your favorite kill scene from part 6? Jason lives. Undead zombie Jason is the best. What do you think? Yeah, he's pretty cool. He's pretty cool. My favorite kill scene from part 6. I don't know. I think the sleeping bag scene was from part 7, right? And then they recreated it in Jason X. I don't know. Offhand, I don't know. I remember how they brought him back to life when Tommy went with his friend to go dig him up. But from part 6, I don't know. I don't know that I have one from part 6. It's been a while since I've seen it. See all the rainbow emojis for Cody in the chat. Ah, is that what? Okay, yeah, okay. So the RV kill is in that one. I think I'll go with that one. with the face imprint in the RV. It might be that one. Cody is like Sting. Back in the day, he never learns. Sting never learned his lesson when it came to the Horsemen. Eat, sleep, repeat. Eat, sleep, yeet, repeat. Thank you for the $1. Death Scythe says, if Cody thought The Rock gave him problems, well, sick prick Randy Orton will give him worse. Just ask the McMahons, Triple H, Jeff Hardy, and Shawn Spears. Will I be at HOG in Vegas? Yes, I will. I will be there. I will be at the Palms Casino Resort. And then I will be in Los Angeles 2 weeks later. I'll be at the Globe Theater. We got Ragnarok. No Oba. The Bella Twins wrestling for the titles next week. An 8-month Wyatt MFT feud. Alex Shelley suddenly caring about Johnny. This show sucks. Yes, it does. SmackDown sucks. Do with a super chat. Cody bleeds before every Mania. Rock, Cena, and Orton. He's trying to do his part. He's trying to put some heat on this thing. Death Scythe forgot to mention Randy Orton tried to set John Cena on fire at bragging rights. Then he tried to blow him up. All right, with the pyro. That was in the Iron Man match. Maybe Cody should watch out when he does his whoa during his entrance. Base Beer says, have you seen the OVW incident? I have, yes. I'll talk about that on the sound off. It's disgusting. Death Scythe, can we get a segment with Bret Hart and Drew McIntyre? Because Bret can lecture Drew about what it truly means to be screwed. I don't think Bret wants to have anything to do with this show. Hulkling93, me and my bro laughed our asses off at the recurring weekly segment, Sammy hates water bottles. They're always conveniently there after he gets angry. Yeah, that's become part of his shtick now. The end of every interaction with Cody in the back, it's always a water bottle sitting nearby and he smacks it away. The Sheltered Kid, let's take a moment to appreciate you for doing God's work by being our shield from awful shows. $5 is not enough to show thanks, but it's all I got. Well, brother, believe me, it's much appreciated. I appreciate you. Hulkling93, since last week, I predicted Michin and BFAB to link with Jade, mainly for Rhea to have bodies to lay waste to during the build, more so than anything. Yeah, it could be Michin as well. I'm just saying in that one segment, she was talking to BFAB, not Michin. Base Bears, we saw the Carrion Scarlet ripoff from a mile away. Tuxedo, with the conveniently timed Brie mode. Thank you, brother. You nailed that one. Death Scythe, I've been staying sober since your TNA Impact review 2 months ago, but these shows are making it harder and harder not to give in and fall off the wagon. Well, don't do that. These shows are not worth it. You gotta stay the course. Let me be the one to fall off the wagon. I'm tempted myself. Cornell Bryant. I put a good word in for you, by the way, the other day, Cornell. It's like you asked me to. Randy turned babyface. Cody will get booed. Yes, it's exact. Basically. Base Beer says, do you think Darby Allin wakes up with back pain? I think Darby Allin wakes up with all kinds of pain. Because he has also said he's straight edge, so he doesn't take pain pills or anything. There's no way that you could put your body through the kind of abuse that he does and not wake up in just great pain. And you know what? That's his cross to bear. I mean, that's his choice. He's not a stupid well, I mean, he does stupid things. But he's not dumb enough to know that that isn't the consequence of what he does. So it's like, okay, we all make choices in life. You know, sometimes people have to learn the hard way. Skip Bayless says, USA Canada WBC game was more fun than SmackDown. Oh, I'm sure it was. I 100% believe that. I think on one of the channels I have access to, there's a fucking test pattern. I think that's more entertaining than SmackDown. I may watch that tonight. Shout out to Leo. I'm trying to be positive. I'm not happy about Kiana taking the loss, but at least it wasn't a clean loss. I will say I am frustrated. It seems like she will not have a match at WrestleMania, and it's frustrating after the great year that she has had so far. I wouldn't say she's had a great year. If you're going back to last year, I wouldn't say it's been a great year. She had a great showing in the Elimination Chamber. And I think that she's got a pretty high ceiling. But she's still very, very early into her run. So if she doesn't have a match at WrestleMania this year, I don't look at it as any great thing because they haven't really focused on her too much. You know, and I think as long as she's still attached to Julia, that will not be the case. But like by this time next year at WrestleMania, she should be in a better spot. I still think it's just very early for her. Like I wouldn't get too discouraged if she's not in an actual match. She'll be, if nothing else, she'll be in Julia's corner for her match. But in terms of her not having a match herself, I wouldn't be too discouraged by that. MacTub. Who do you more I don't even know what you're trying to say. Who do you more overall and why? I don't know what you're trying to say. Cool bro. I was at the show. Cody got booed so bad. I'm shocked. I wouldn't say I'm shocked. I think that it was probably to be expected, putting him in there with somebody like Randy, who the fans love. MacTub says, why is that Hogan in 87 seemed more well-known worldwide than Austin did in 98, even though Attitude Era is considered the peak of WWE and Austin was its face? It was the national expansion and wrestling was just more mainstream in a way that it wasn't in the late 90s. You know, wrestling was very popular in the late 90s and it was mainstream to a degree. But just not in the way that wrestling was, and specifically WWE, when it got hot in the late 80s. Hogan really was the right guy in the right place at the right time. Why do you think Triple H has so many WrestleMania duds, despite being a top star who was afforded the best conditions to excel? Well, I mean, look, there's a reason why Triple H is not on my Mount Rushmore. I think Triple H was very good. I think in some respects, by some people, he's overrated. Not to say that he wasn't very good and didn't have great matches. He did, but he was never that guy. You know, he was not Rock. He was not Austin. He was not that super charismatic, you know, just great dynamic performer. There was an element there to him that was just missing, you know, that the real top guys had that he just didn't. Because he has had a lot of duds at WrestleMania. You know, him and Jericho in the Sky Dome, a lot of that had to do with their match going on last after Rock Hogan. No one was going to be able to follow that. That was a terrible decision, putting that match on in the main event. I know why, because it was for the title. But that was a terrible decision. They would have benefited greatly by going on earlier in the show. But I also think that when Triple H initially came back in 2002, he was all roided up. And he just wasn't the same performer that he was when he left with the injury in 2001. I always say, like, In ring, 2000 Triple H, 2000 into 2001. To me, that's peak Triple H. That is like Triple H at his physical peak as an in-ring performer was during that period. When he came back, he was too big. He put on too much muscle mass. It wasn't the same. He just wasn't working the same. Maybe the speed, there were certain elements to his style that changed when he decided to just roid up and put on all that muscle mass. I think that affected him too. Retro KOH, I think Cody should have been the one to turn. It would have been far more interesting. Okay. Well, then who ends up in his place? Randy Orton? 47-year-old Randy Orton? Really? Who takes his place? You turn Cody into a super heel. Who takes his place? Who's that guy? Who's that guy doing all the appearances on the side of the truck that you build the brand around, you build the company around? Who is that? Give me an answer. OMG, it's Winky. Wiz. Miz and Danhausen against Jelly Roll and Blank. Jericho at WrestleMania, bro. Forgive my awful Vince Russo booking. With how bad things are, anything is possible. That is pretty bad. If that was the goal, you nailed it. Creflo. Rest in peace to the great Ernie Anastas. I'll never forget when he said, "Keep fucking that chicken" on Channel 5. Ernie Anastas was a New York news icon. I remember Ernie Anastas as the anchor on Channel 7 Eyewitness. I mean, he was on multiple stations, but when I was younger, he was the anchor, one of the anchors on Eyewitness News here. And to me, when I think of like news anchor, I think of Ernie Anastas. And yeah, he just passed away at 82 the other day. Remember Ernie Anastas and Roz Abrams, Bill Butel. And Slipper House Extra Extra with a $4.99. Double babyface versus babyface WrestleMania main events. Triple H is still the top heel, baby. Drag my ass through broken glass. These, quote, storylines. Death Scythe, clarify, Roman poisoned Stephanie's drink in 2014 to get into a battle royal where the winner qualified for a ladder match for the WWE title and Money in the Bank. What? What are you talking about? He poisoned her drink to get into a match? I have no memory of this. '14 is the year where he first split away from the Shield. He wrestled Randy Orton, didn't he, at that SummerSlam in 2014? When did he poison Stephanie's drink? I guess I've mentally blocked part of the Authority era out of my mind. I have no memory of that whatsoever, which is weird because I'm sure I talked about it and reviewed it on the Sound Off. But I've done a lot of these sound offs. I've done 954 of them, so forgive me if I don't remember every detail. Bader Mohammed. We need Randy to deliver an RKO to Brandy Rhodes. Also, do you think he's winning at Mania to enhance the heel turn? I think he should. I don't know if he will, but I think he should. Also, I finished watching The Shield a few months ago. That was a great crime/drama TV show. The Shield is one of my favorite, like, top 3 TV shows of all time. Fucking love that show. I recommend it to anybody who has never seen it. And I have yet to have one person write me back and go, "Man, I wish you didn't tell me to watch that show, man. What a waste of time." Not once. Not once. They all thank me for it. Maze the Great. Solo, even if the shows were great regularly, that still does not justify these prices. And even if this was prime Attitude Era, it would still be insane. Sure. It would still be more tolerable, at least. But I don't disagree. Have I seen The Wire? I have. I didn't like it as much as The Shield. A lot of sitting around in a car doing nothing. Luis, I take back everything I said in the chat before SmackDown about Randy Orton being in the position John Cena was in for 20 plus years. Okay. I'm glad you got that off your chest, Luis. Mystic J, no offense to the man, but why is Jelly Roll always their go-to guy? They love their celebrities, he likes wrestling, and so they're going to try to use him as much as possible. If you just watch the show every week, I mean, they spend plenty of time making sure that you are aware of all of the celebrities that are in the crowd, even if it's somebody that you have never heard of before. They love showing them. Although they did show Mark Kerr. He was in the crowd tonight. UFC Hall of Famer. He was the subject of the movie The Smashing Machine. He was there. Who else was there? Oh, it was, who was the girl that was there? She was holding that replica WWE belt upside down, the silver belt. Yeah, they showed her in the crowd too. John J. Am I the only one that doesn't like ring announcer Mark Nash? Man, I miss Samantha. Where would you rank her with Fink, Chimmel, Roberts, and Garcia? I think I might have her behind Fink, honestly. In terms of WWE, I would put her behind Fink. Which is crazy to say because it wasn't even something that she ever aspired to do. She was naturally great at it. She never wanted to be a ring announcer. She never wanted to be an announcer of any kind. And MacTub, think heel Punk with evil Triple H would be a good idea. No. No, I don't. I really don't have any desire to see Triple H as a character on the show at this point. And I just feel like if you did something like corporate Punk, I'm just not a big fan of that. Somebody asked me about that recently. It's basically what it would be. It would be corporate Punk. I'm like, I'm not feeling it. Hank, what pay-per-view do you recommend from the Vince Sr. era? They didn't have pay-per-views back then, so I recommend none of them. But they did do a big show at Shea Stadium in 1980 that had one of the earliest Hogan-Andre matches. Not the earliest, but one of the earliest Hogan-Andre matches was on that show. That was in 1980. I think that also had Bruno and Zbyszko, I believe, in the main event. Pay-per-views did not become a thing until the mid-80s. I think Vince Sr. was dead by then. He had Closed Circuit. Oh, Vanessa Hudgens. That's who it was. Well, we're currently sitting at 579 likes. I believe the goal was 465. Yes. So we did beat that goal. Corporate Punk and Corporate Orton. Oh, God, not that again. We already had Corporate Orton. We had Orton with the Authority. No, thank you. Once was enough. Is it time to be the booker? It is in just a second here. I got to get to Retro KOH, though. I admit I don't have an answer for who takes Cody's spot. Nobody can, but Cody just feels like rinse repeat for the past 4 WrestleMania seasons. I don't disagree. He hasn't really evolved his character in any sort of meaningful way. Neither did Hogan for all those years, but It was a while before people started really booing Hogan. I mean, they really got a lot out of him during that first run. Cody is not Hogan. He doesn't have the charisma that Hogan had. Cody has charisma, but it is a very different, more subtle charisma. Few people had the charisma that Hogan had. There's a reason why Hogan got over the way he did, even though he looked, at a young age, he looked like a, I don't know, middle-aged, like washed up muscle beach bodybuilder with you know, the fucking ring around his head. I think he came out of the womb like that. Didn't exactly have the coolest look, but he made it work for him. Cody is not that. But like I said, they don't have that obvious person to step in and take his place. And so you got to look at it from a business perspective. It doesn't make any sense to turn him heel unless you have that person who can just step right into his shoes. Can't do that. MacTub, do you think Savage is Rushmore level or just below? I'd like to say that he's on Rushmore, but I think he's probably just outside the range. Like if you have 4 on Mount Rushmore, I'd probably have him at like 5. I think he just misses the mark for me. But if you told me that he was on yours, I wouldn't disagree. Savage is one of my all-time favorites. Savage and Brett are my 2 favorites of all time. To me, he was the perfect pro wrestler in many ways. I mean, he could work. He could do it all, really, in the ring. I mean, he could work. He could sell. Very entertaining, very charismatic, great on promos. Had that, from the voice to everything else, like you can believe like that's him. That's who he was. Like he lived it. Colorful outfits. He was great. It's time to be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Is LA Knight stuck in mid-card for life? Yes. Yes, he is. Just being honest with you. You don't want me to lie to you now, do you? I only tell the truth. Savage is one of the rare few who covers every area of being a great wrestler. Honestly, when I think of that criteria, Savage and Kurt Angle come to mind. They did everything well. They got what wrestling is. And they excelled in every aspect of wrestling that you could think of. Kurt was one of those guys who, he was a machine. He could wrestle, obviously. Won a fucking gold medal with a broken neck. He could be the serious wrestling machine, and he could also be the biggest goof on the planet. I can't tell you how many times I laughed out loud watching Kurt Angle segments when he first debuted. Like those first couple of years. Or even during the Invasion stuff with Austin. You know? There's some guys that just, they check every single box that you could imagine. Randy Savage and Kurt Angle are the top 2 when it comes to that. We have the Acclaimed, former AEW World Tag Team Champions, also coming to House of Glory next weekend. The Acclaimed will be in action at Super Clash. Maybe we'll all scissor together. Wouldn't that be something? Scissor me, Solomonster. The Acclaimed against Men on a Mission. Dawn says, I hope Be the Booker is better than SmackDown. Well, we're not off to a great start here. Women's Be the Booker. We have Charlotte Flair who's going to be wrestling for the tag team titles this year. Charlotte Flair's opponent is who? Alexa Bliss. Look at that. I had the balls to do what WWE wouldn't do at WrestleMania. I'm putting them together in a one-on-one match. Where's Bliss fan? Bliss fan's going to love this. Charlotte Flair against Alexa Bliss. There you go. See, that should have been the WrestleMania match. See, Be the Booker knows. There you go. Predicting the future. All right, tiebreaker. No clean sweep tonight, but we got to get the tiebreaker. Big E. Former WWE champion, Big E. Actually, I think isn't he a Grand Slam or Triple Crown? He was WWE champion. He was an Intercontinental champion, I believe. Tag team champion. Money in the Bank winner. Yeah. Big E against The Undertaker. Purple Glove Undertaker. This is 1994 Undertaker. 94 into 95. I could tell just by the gloves. When did he stop using the purple gloves? It was in 95, right? Because I don't remember him wearing them in 96. No, maybe he was wearing them in 96, though, because he didn't go back to the gray until 97 for that WrestleMania. Yeah, maybe he did wear them into 96. I guess this could be... Actually, you know what? I think I'm wrong. I think this is 1996. Now that I think about it. I believe this is 1996, because it looks like... I don't know. It's funny how I could kind of look at a photo and tell. I think this might have been during his Mankind feud. Yeah. Anyway, 2 out of 3 is not bad. A nice little recovery there for Be the Booker, but we didn't hit the bonus goal, so unfortunately tonight we only get the 1 round. But we will try again on Sunday night, because we have the AEW Revolution pay-per-view. Texas Death for MJF. It's going to get bloody. It's going to get violent. It can't be an easy thing to do when you have a match like this and you have to wait until all those other matches, everyone's going out there trying to just have banger after banger after banger. They're just doing everything, right? They're throwing the kitchen sink out there. And then it's like 11:30 at night, and you got to go out there and have a Texas death match and bleed all over the place. Can't be an easy thing to do. My thoughts on WWE signing Nikki Blackheart. What I have seen of her, she's very impressive. I would say I hope they don't change her name, but I'm sure they will. They had Shotzi Blackheart, and eventually they just shortened it to Shotzi. So I don't know what name they're going to give her, but I don't know that it'll be as cool as Nikki Blackheart. Yes, Revolution is running opposite the Academy Awards on Sunday. And they're both in Los Angeles, too. They're the same city. But again, Revolution, it sounds like they've already exceeded 11,000 tickets, which is good. Their pay-per-views generally do sell well. No, I don't think Big E ever won the U.S. title. I'm pretty sure he won the IC title. I don't think he ever won the U.S. title. Have I ever seen the Big Show movie Knucklehead? No. I heard of it. I never watched it. I didn't see the Triple H movie either, where he's a bus driver or something. Right? Wasn't he like a bus driver? That looked terrible. I didn't watch that either. I honestly think the only like B-level straight to DVD movies I saw from like WWE people back then was Stone Cold. He did a bunch of them. Hard to Kill. God, there were so many of them. I watched like 2 or 3 of them. They were cheesy as hell, but I enjoyed them. Actually, you know what? I saw a really good movie last night. My one night where I don't have to do a show. And there was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that came out in 2013 called The Last Stand. Actually, a very enjoyable movie. It had him in it. Johnny Knoxville was in it. God, who was it? It was Schwarzenegger. It was Johnny Knoxville. I forgot the other. There's one more name in there. I think Luis Guzman is in there too, but I forgot the name of the other person. I enjoyed it. It was actually I thought it was a very enjoyable movie. Oh, Forrest Whitaker. Yeah, Forrest Whitaker is in there. He played an aging police chief in some little podunk town somewhere. A Rambo prequel is in the works. Gonna be awfully hard to use Schwarzenegger for that one. I think The Rundown was WWE's best movie. Was The Rundown a WWE film? I guess it might have fallen under their studio. Yeah, that wasn't a bad one. Luis says, don't call the Staples Center by that vomit-inducing name. Oh, you mean the Crypto.com arena? Is that the one? You know, they were in Arizona tonight. Do we still have the talking stick? Is that still a thing? Remember the talking stick? I think that's like a resort and casino. Nothing is worse than guaranteed rate field. I guess they call it the rate. Is that what people in Chicago call it? The rate? What a terrible fucking name. They already cast some young guy to play Rambo. Well, you kind of have to. You got no choice. You got to get somebody young to play Rambo in a prequel. New name stinks. I want my Staples Center. Yes, I want my old corporate name back. I want the old corporate name to replace the new corporate name. It's just Rate Field now? Really? Somehow that's even worse. Rate Field? It just gets worse. Braves play at Trust Park. No, it's true. Isn't it Truist? Truist Park, not Trust Park. The arena is now Mortgage Matchup Center. No more talking stick. Mortgage Matchup Center. It's fucked up to make a Rambo prequel considering he was traumatized by war. Never should have had sequels. What's the worst WWE movie? The Smackdown that I just watched tonight. Remember, they make movies. They make movies. I miss the days when baseball fields were just named after old, dead white guys. It was a much simpler time back then. SmackDown was longer than most movies. Yeah, sadly, you're right. Actually, SmackDown is about the length of The Batman, which I still haven't watched. I would have been better off watching The Batman tonight and then going live and doing a review. In the original cut of Rambo, he deleted himself at the end. Is that true? I didn't know that. What do you think Stone Cold Steve Austin does on Monday night if he shows up? Well, I mean, I'm hoping for an interaction with him and Punk on the show. But it's interesting. If he shows up, he's going to be on a show that is going to have Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Like, they're expecting some of the big names back Monday night. I don't even know what day of the week it is. Have I seen War of the Worlds with Ice Cube? I heard that was one of the worst movies ever made. I find that very hard to believe in a world where Battlefield Earth exists. That it would be worse than Battlefield Earth, but either it's worse or almost as bad as Battlefield Earth. Is that true? I stayed away from it. I didn't want to waste my time with it. He won't be riding a four-wheeler. No, he will not. An Austin Danhausen segment. Yeah, but then what happens if he curses Austin? Wow, the Batman is second only to the Dark Knight. Is that true? I just wish it wasn't so damn long. 3 hours. It's like I remember seeing The Watchmen. And I'm like, God, this movie just never fucking ends. Like, it's just too long. And then apparently the director's cut was even longer. Austin can't drink beer. So he puts a curse on Austin. And then every time Austin tries to drink beer, he gets Montezuma's revenge. Now that would be a curse. If he curses Austin, the beer will be flat. Do you think Sinners wins for Best Picture? Well, look, it's hard to say. I mean, I can't say that I've seen all the nominees or anything, but I have seen Sinners and I enjoyed it very much. Do I think Sinners is the best movie of the year? Again, I haven't seen all of the candidates. I find it hard to believe it's the best movie of the year. I enjoyed it, though. It should win some awards. I don't know what it's up for. Stone Cold photo op at WWE World is $379. Yeah, that sounds about right. They start tossing him some Zimas. Now they start tossing him some of those, what's it called? Poppy or something? There's some like fake soda. I've tried it. Maybe it was the flavor I tried. I thought it tasted like garbage. Ugh. It's like, oh, the alternative. No, I don't drink soda anymore unless I'm having Jack and Coke or something. But I tried it once. It was like right there. They had a big display for it in the supermarket. I think I had seen it on Shark Tank or something. But I tried it. I'm like, oh God, this is fucking horrible. This is fucking terrible. Michael says, I've seen all the movies nominated for Best Picture. Sinners should win. Oh, all right. That's fine. I enjoyed it. Good soundtrack, too. Have Austin smoke weed instead of beer. They always go for the pretentious movies that critics love but are boring as hell. Yeah, I still feel like Mickey Rourke should have won for The Wrestler. What did Sean Penn win, right? For like Milk? Was that what happened? Mickey Rourke should have won for The Wrestler. I maintain that. Old-fashioned with makers. This man has style. Anyway. Good shit. We can go all night with this. But imagine naming your movie Milk. Well, you know that's not my favorite movie. I'm staying far away from that. Yeah, hit that like button on your way out. Again, I will see you for Sound of 955. Gonna be dropping on Sunday, and then Sunday night for the Revolution review. Cameron Spencer coming in hot. $4.99 says, why are you against doing Omos and Oba at Mania? You'll get on board eventually. No, I won't. It's adorable that you think I will, but I won't. Watch the new 28 Years Later movie. Should rename SmackDown that. Soon I'm going to be reviewing SmackDown. I'll start out looking like this, and then I'll come on the stream and have like a big white beard. I'll look like Gandalf. Fucking shows are so long. Anyway. I'll see you guys back here live on Sunday night. Take care.